Students, in the last video we saw the Roman Empire. Rome was founded in a small area of Etruria and Latium in Italy, from a small estate to a vast empire that included most part of the Europe. So it stretched from Portugal to Jordan, and you can see from England to North Africa. In Europe it covers Spain, Portugal, okay. Then you can see France, southern Britain, and then Italy, Austria, Switzerland, Luxembourg, Belgium, Gibraltar, Romania, Ukraine, and some other states of Europe. So the powerful Roman Empire, it ruled over Europe, North Africa, the coastal region, and the place of Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and Egypt. And you can see Middle East Asia in the period between the birth of Christ and the early part of the 7th century. So this Rome, it dominated the Mediterranean Sea and all the region around the sea, from all the direction, from north to south or east to west. To the north, the boundary was formed by two great rivers, Rhine and Danube. It demarcated it from the north, okay. To the south, it formed the boundary with Sahara deserts. So this was the territorial expansion of the Rome. We talk about the two empires that ruled between the birth of Christ and 630 Common Era was Rome and Iran, and they were both rival to each other. So today we will see the early empire. So the Roman Empire was divided into two phases. One was the early phase, another was the late phase. The 3rd century, okay, it divided it into two phases. It means that the period before 3rd century is the early period, and period after 3rd century is the late period or late phase. So two power, one was Rome and another was Iran. The major difference between the two powers, okay, when we talk about the Roman Empire, was culturally more diverse than that of the Iranian. You can see existence of variety of cultural or ethnic groups, either language, religion, race, gender, age, and ethnicity. So here you can see that Iranian, they were ruled by Parthian and Sasanian dynasty during that time period, whereas Roman Empire was you can see a variety of territory of composite culture, okay. They were chiefly bound together by a common system of government. So all those who lived in the empire were subject of a single ruler, the emperor, but they followed various cultures, religions, languages, and race. Many languages were spoken in the empire, but the purpose of the administration that was solved by the two languages that were widely used. Okay, one was the Latin, another one was the Greek. So the upper class of eastern part spoke Greek languages, whereas the people of western part, they spoke Latin languages. So when we talk about Augustus, he was the first emperor who established monarchy in 27 BC. He was also called the Principate. You can see, although Augustus was the sole ruler and the only real source of authority. So you can see that as he is the only ruler and only soul of authority, so that's why he was called Principate. So you can see that in the 1st century BCE, the Roman Republic was falling to pieces. There was a disintegration. So it eventually crumbled into a civil war. Okay, one which was only resolved by Augustus, and who was called Octavius. Victory at the Battle of Actium. With Rome so weak, the Senate asked Octavius to hold on to power. Okay, he had gained in the war so that he could rebuild the city. According to tradition, Octavius fought against this, but Due to this, they need a strong leader. From there, Octavius began to acquire a new title, starting with the with the honor that we call Augustus. So he was made the main consul or the leader of the Senate as well as this body, Princeps, the member with the right to speak first and symbolic first citizen of Rome. So the Senate also declared him Pontifex Maximus, the head priest of the Rome, and you can see Imperator, the head of the Roman military. So you can see never since that ancient Roman kingdom had one person hold so much power. In reality, Rome was giving Augustus the power of a monarch, although he worked hard to demonstrate a commitment to the ideal of the republic. So he continued to recognize the right of Romans to elect their own magistrate and city official. He kept the Senate intact and consulted it for all the major decisions. So despite his effort, you can see he preserved the republic. However, Augustus had near absolute control of Rome. So the Principate periods can be seen as something more like a constitutional monarchy. So here you can see three main players in the political history of the empire, Roman Empire. One was the emperor, the source of authority. Another was the Senate, the body of wealthy family. And then the third one was the army, which were paid and professional. So when we talk about the Senate, it was the body which had controlled Rome earlier in the day when it was republic. So when we say republic, the republic was the name for a regime in which the reality of power lay with the Senate, okay? A body dominated by a group of wealthy families who formed the nobility. In practice, the republic represented the government of nobility exercised through the body that was called Senate. So here you can see the Senate had existed in Rome for centuries and had been and remained a body representing the aristocracy, nobles, okay, and they are the wealthiest family of Rome, and later Italian descent, mainly landowners. So here you can see that this republic, they lasted from 509 BC to 27 BC, when it was overthrown by Octavian, the adopted son and heir of Julius Caesar, who later changed his name to Augustus. So when we talk about the membership of the Senate, it is lifelong. And for the membership, wealth and positions matters more than by birth. So most of the Roman histories, okay, that survived in Greek and Latin were written by the people from a senatorial background. So these were the senators who wrote the histories. From these it is clear that emperor was judged by how they behaved toward the Senate. So you can see the worst emperor were those who were hostile to the senatorial class, behaving with brutality and violence. So many senators, they desired to go back to the day of republic, but most must have realized that this was not possible. So first we saw the sole authority, the emperor, then we talk about the Senate, and now the third important body was the army. That is next to emperor and Senate, the other key institutional of the imperial rule was the army. So Roman had a paid professional army, okay, where you can see the soldiers had to put minimum 25 years of service. If you talk about his rival country Iran or the Persian army, which was conscripted army, it means that army is one which is forcibly recruited, and military service here is compulsory for certain groups or category or class of the populations. So when we talk about the features of the Roman army, first thing, it is paid and professional, where the soldier had to put up 25 years of services. So the existence of this paid army was the distinctive feature. The army was the largest single organized body. It was a proper institution of the Roman Empire. As you can see, there were 6 lakh soldiers in the 4th century AD. So it had the power to decide the fate of the emperor. Okay. So you can see that the soldiers would constantly they agitate for better wages and service condition. So this anxiety sometimes took in the form of mutiny. So if the soldiers they felt disappointed by the emperors or by the generals, this movement can take the form of Sipahi mutiny or revolt. So again are pictures of the Roman army. The image of the Roman army depend largely on the way they are portrayed by the historian. I knew the senators were greatly sympathized by these historians because they were one of them. So the Senate they hated and they were feared by the army because it was a source of often unpredictable violence, especially in the tense condition of the 3rd century, where the government forced to tax more heavily to pay for its increasing military expenditures. When we talk about the success of the individual army, emperor, it depended on the control of the army. And if they are not able to control, it resulted in civil war. Which means, if we talk the civil wars, it means a war between citizens of the same country. Here it refers to armed struggle for power within the same country. So when we talk about Augustus' age, it's remembered as the age of peace. It brought peace after the decades of internal strife and centuries of military conquest. And you can see there was no internal warfare, okay, during the time of Augustus. And when we talk about the external warfare, was also much less common in first two centuries. Then you can see the empire, it was inherited. So why it was less common in this first two centuries? The reason you can see the empire that was inherited by the Tiberius from Augustus. Okay, they were less involved in the expansion of territory. So here you can see the successions to the throne in the Roman Empire. So you can see the family descent, either natural or adoptive son, was the decisive factor in the succession to the throne in the Roman Empire. So Tiberius was the adopted son of Augustus. So the empire that was inherited by Tiberius was already so vast that further expansion felt to be unnecessary. The only major campaign of expansion was in the time of Trajan, okay, where he occupied the territory across the Euphrates on the year 113 to 17 Common Era, abandoned by his successors. So we talk about the vast or the huge empire, okay, and then we saw the territory which had two types of territory. One was the dependent kingdom, another one was the provincial kingdom territory. So the Near East were full of dependent kingdom. So Near East from the, so when we talk about dependent, the word here it means they are dependent, and if we say the Near East countries, they are dependent. So Near East are someone who lived in the Mediterranean. This refers to all the territory east of Mediterranean. Okay, chiefly the Roman Empire province in Syria, Palestine, and Mesopotamia, and in a looser sense, you can see surrounding territories, for example, Arab. So these dependent states, okay, was swallowed up by Rome. It means it was merged in the provincial territories of Rome. Incidentally, some of the kingdom, okay, of these dependent territories were what exceedingly wealthy. For example, Herods, you can see that it yielded the equivalent of 5.4 million denarii per year, equal to over 1,25,000 kilogram of gold per year. So the denarius was a Roman silver coins containing about 4.5 gram of pure silver. Now you can see when we talk about the Roman Empire, it was divided into what? It was organized or divided into province. Except Italy, it was not considered as province, and they were all subject for what? They were subject to taxation. So at its peaks in the 2nd century. You can see the Roman Empire is stretched from Scotland, the United Kingdom, to the border of Armenia, across the Black Sea, Sahara, that is North Africa, to Euphrates, Mesopotamia, and Greece. So this was what? This was the expansion of the empire during the time period of 2nd century. So you can see that for such a vast empire, they need a proper administrative system. So here, so this was no government as in the modern day, proper system of governing to help them to run the administration. So how was it possible to emperor to cope up with the control administration of such a vast and diverse sets of territories with a population of some 6 crore in the mid 2nd centuries? So the answer that lies in the urbanization of the empire. So you can see the vast Roman Empire was controlled and administered with the help of urbanizations. Okay, here we will discuss urbanization in the next video.